I probably wait
There we are.
for
We
the anthem.
are up live. Egan didn't say anything embarrassing to kick off the session. We're doing really good so far.
Nope, I muted myself.
Excellent. I like yeah, hello. My name is Colin. Welcome to episode 32 of Roll by Roll's Tavern Talk, a show where we, the Roll by Roll gang, discuss various aspects of running a great D&D campaign based on our experiences with D&D 5e and our current adventures in Emathan homebrew campaign. So joining me tonight are the rest of the Roll by Roll crew. We have Egan, who plays Douglin.
Howdy.
Welcome. And Max is back by popular demand. Missed you last time around.
Thanks,
That's
team.
yeah, that's Egan and I demanding you come back. So
It's fine.
Yes. Wasn't the same without you.
just wasn't the same. Yeah, so
Less
welcome,
combative.
guys.
It was better, but not the same. No, I'm just kidding.
Fair enough.
Harsh,
I
I'll see
kid, I
harsh.
myself
kid.
out.
No, 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 no. Get back here. Get back here. Oh
Oh,
no.
camera.
Oh
No.
no.
Get on my camera. Okay.
You've got the
You
magic to
broke the
bring it back.
veil.
Yeah.
All right, so tonight we're going to talk about our favorite monsters in what I am calling Monster Mash number 1, because I am really hoping this is not the only time we are going to do this one. Why are we talking about monsters? Well, because monsters are so much fun. For me personally, after magic items, they are my favorite part of the game. They are one of the things I just love about D&D. So, guys, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Did a little research. Always like to
Uh-oh.
start with an opening question. What do you think is the most fought monster in D&D?
Goblin
Egan?
or
Human or goblin?
giant rats?
You are right, Max. It is generally accepted that goblins are the most fought creature. In particular, if you look at D&D through all.
Me.
We're back. We're back. Technical faux pas aside, yeah. So
Goblins. Yes.
clearly the goblins got into my computer, and we will fight them later over that. So
Rushed.
yeah, yeah. So I saw that coming. Damn it, and I wasn't able to stop it. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes about this. I think Egan, I think I'm going to let you kick this off with your first monster that you want to discuss with us. So take it away,
Yeah,
sir.
you got it. I'm gonna start with a lower level CR. None of them go really high, to be honest with you, because most happen, at least from what my experience, not, Tarask level. So, first one I'd love to talk about is the flail snail. CR3 for those counting at home. Um, it is, first of all, you're fighting a snail. What's not D&D about that, right? It is surprisingly difficult, especially for parties of that level. It has it's great against magic users. It has advantage on saves. It also can redirect the effects of spells if the right roll is made back at them, sometimes direct or as a burst, like an AOE. They have a scintillating shell that can stun entire groups of people. They're immune to poison and fire. Fire, I think, is a big one, especially with breath weapons and being so prevalent. Multi-attack, and then of course, it's a snail. It can go into a shell defense, so it can come out, by the way, as a bonus action. So it's a really effective way to just frustrate, your characters and stuff like that. But again, it's a snail. You're fighting a snail that could kick your ass. I think that's pretty
I
cool.
mean, it's pretty big.
It's a big, I know. It's
Yeah.
perfect though, but it's just a
Yeah.
snail.
Yeah. It's a snail.
It is a
Yeah,
snail.
so yeah, that's sort of my first one to kick things off because, you know, it's always fun to describe. Like you see this slow moving creature coming towards you, and it has like this nautilus type of shell, and then you show the picture. Oh, it's a snail, and all the party relaxes, and then next thing you know, they're downing healing potions and trying to smash the shell, and yeah, it's fun.
How big are flail snails? Like,
They're
That is a good
large.
question. It is, what is the size of a flail snail? Ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. It's large.
Yeah,
okay, so they're pretty
Large
big.
elemental. Yeah, I
they're
don't
pretty
know
big.
the exact size, but if it's large, then
Yeah, it's fair size.
They're
yeah,
great to use as a side quest monster,
yeah,
or because you can craft like you don't have to obviously, but even the monster manual suggests that you could use its shell to create different things.
yeah.
I used it as such in my own campaign one time. It was really fun.
Yeah.
That's
A
a
monster like
great
that is
add.
really cool for
Yeah.
quests, right? Like you got to
Yes.
go after its shell or you something like
Or the
that. So,
glands, right?
yeah,
Like you get it. Yeah, no, that's a great
They made
point
a
there.
spell guard shield out of it, I think.
nice.
Nice.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, flail snail.
Flail snail is our number one.
Yeah.
All
We're
right,
kicking it
Max,
off.
what do you got to kick us off tonight?
Okay. So disclaimer, my favorite monsters in D&D are the other D dragons. But they're so kind of like obvious and whatever. Everyone knows about dragons. So I'm gonna leave dragons off the table. But uh I love this star spawn family. They're from Mordenkainen's Tomb of Foes, where they were kind of introduced. But the whole theme of them is this sort of like elder god uh minions and stuff. So they come from like other universes and dimensions. Like they're heralded by comets coming through the night sky and stuff. They kind of crash land on your planet idea. And they're all sort of yeah, like Lovecraftian horror kind of vibes to them. My favorite, like there's like one of them is a starspawn larva mage. It's this coagulation of all these like larva worms, but it takes kind of like a humanoidal shape and stuff like that, and it's sentient and really strong. But my favorite one is the starspawn Hulk. It's this. I'm just gonna read the description. It's just a short little description, but it's awesome. So the Hulk is the largest of the known star spawn. Though ogre-like in stature, the Hulk's glistening, translucent skin reveals a muscled form devoid of an ogre's fat. Pale and seemingly lidless eyes glare balefully from a face distorted by too many teeth and too little nose. So just
Nice.
picturing this like I just like see like the muscles beneath the skin, like some sort of deep sea creature. You know what I mean? Like no eyelids and stuff like that. Uh,
Gross.
Super strong, has multiple hits. If you pair it up with one of its brothers, the Star Spawn Seer, they have this, and it's suggested in the book too. This strategy. So they're almost all these Star Spawn are almost all immune to psychic damage. The Hulk has a psychic mirror ability, so it'll reflect psychic damage 10 feet around it.
Oh, nice. Nice.
The
That's huge.
seer is like a general, and he has this psychic orb that normally targets one creature. It does 5d6 psychic damage. You can cast it on these hulks and just like radius blast these things that are trying to fight the Hulk. It is just awesome. I used it in my own campaign. It was sick. Everyone was terrified. It was just like really, really awesome. You have these things like clamber up out of somewhere and just like looking horrifying and like translucent and gross. It was awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
I recommend it.
I have never used Star Spawn before, so that's
It's
Hmm.
it's its own flavor. It's definitely like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Shit,
I
Max.
think I
Thanks a
see.
lot.
I see how to tie everything together now.
Yeah, the between, all sorts of shits out there.
CR10 for this Hulk. If anyone
nice.
cares.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
definitely a good like mid high level uh creature. God, not again.
all
The
right.
stars on are after me.
So for me, the two monsters I picked, The reason I picked them is when I got back into D&D, back into playing 5e, the first real module that I ran was Lost Mines of Phandelver.
Classic.
And when I came up against these two particular monsters, there's so many monsters I love, but when I came up against these, or sorry, not against them, but when they showed up in the campaign for the first time, I just loved both of them because they were so much fun to play in the campaign. You know, the way that you can utilize them. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Sturge. So I'll read the description here. This horrid monster looks like a cross between a large bat and an oversized mosquito. Its legs end in sharp pincers, and its long needle-like proboscis. I just love they use the word proboscis. Love it.
Yeah.
Slashes the air as it seeks to feed on the blood of living creatures. So these things, you know, you hide them in the nooks and crannies of rooms and caverns and such. When the party enters, basically this flock of these things attack the group. Now, these little buggers, they have like 2 hit points. Very easy to kill, but their big thing is this blood drain, right?
Yeah.
And so they get attached to you, and every round they are draining 5 blood from you until you remove this gigantic mosquito, right? But the thing, one of the ways that these things are really cool, so they only will take 10 hit points, then they detach and try and run away, right? Or if the thing dies. But what I like about these is it takes an action to remove them. So it's it's a way, if the little buggers are just in there and you have a lot of them, right? If there's 4 or 5 of these things attached to you, it takes your action to get rid of them. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
like, you're getting sapped 5, 10, 15, 20 hit points every
Yeah.
round as you're
Yeah.
trying to tear these things off of you. You can actually do a surprising amount of damage. You know, and they just add this little fun annoyance to the game, right? That you can and I'm going to make mention of one thing here that I love to do with all the monsters, especially ones I've never run before. I have I have the Monsters Know What They're Doing books by Keith Amon, and I love to read because Keith looks at the most logical way based on this creature, the way it's built, that it would react in a situation, right? And these things are just an annoyance. They're just trying to get in, get some blood, and get out again, right? Like they they have a 40 fly speed, which means they move pretty
Pretty quick.
good,
Yeah.
right? Oh yeah, I love them as an annoyance, which is I think is exactly the way those creatures were meant to be played out, and they show up in Wave Echo Cave. Is for anyone that's played Lost Mines of Phandelver, they're one of the things in there. And when they showed up for the first time I'd come across them, I was just like, oh, I just love these nasty little things. So yeah, just an annoying little creature. Eat up some hit points, you know. But yeah, I had a lot of fun playing
Fun
with
way to
those.
like end a long rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like maybe they got it's like just before dawn. You know what I mean? And someone who's on watch didn't pass their perception check, and then people wake up with these on them. Now you're starting the day with fewer hit points and
with
stuff like
fewer
that,
hit
right?
points than you
Yeah.
went to bed with. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Stuff
Yeah.
like
Freaking
that.
mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. There's some movie that maybe when you guys hear where there's the scene where it's like a Jurassic Park sort of movie, and it's got a gigantic mosquito attached to the guy's back, and he's like, I'm not feeling very good. And he turns around
Oh,
and
Will
there's this.
It's the
Ferrell.
Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
he's got this
Land of the
giant.
Lost.
Land of the
Yeah,
Lost.
that's
Yeah.
it. He's got this
Is there
giant
something wrong
mosquito.
with it?
Yeah,
It's like this big.
it's got this
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
big
like a
ball.
water balloon on him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Oh
what I
yeah.
picture. That whole
yeah,
scene where they're like,
absolutely.
"Oh, I'm not feeling very well today," and they turn
Is
around
there
and you got
something
like
about
5 of these things attached to your back.
That's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah,
That's
no,
hilarious.
it's a fun little creature. But all right, Egan, what's
Yeah.
number 2 for you today?
Okay, I'm actually going to switch. I know I told you Knoll, and I'll give them an honorable mention in a sec. But I had thought more, and I remember a battle back in the day, and Roper is my
Oh
number
yeah,
two one. A Roper is so much fun to throw at a party. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what this is about? Is having fun with your players.
oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
CR5, so it's got some beef, but the thing about the Ropers is first of all, they are undetectable when they're motionless. So there's really not a lot they can do to know until it's ready to strike. So it's like one of those where they're going to be surprised or at least definitely caught off guard. It can have up to 6 tendrils at one time, and destroying the tendrils, they only regrow. It doesn't affect the roper itself, so it's this constant regeneration of things that can affect the PCs. 50-foot reach. That is like watching players try to get to
Yeah,
a
yeah.
roper is without being dragged into its mouth, by the way, is probably the most fun. And it's entertaining how they solve the problem, because at the end of the day, that's what a roper is going to be. Spider climb, it can go wherever the hell it wants. Multi attack, and as I said, it could have 2 or 3 party members in its tendrils dragging it towards its mouth. Um, and it's got enough beef. Let's see, what does it have as far as HP? I think it's in the 93 range.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to.
CR5.
I'm looking at. Yeah, I mean that's what it's on the fantasy grounds as the monster. I got 93 on this one.
Yeah, I'm just curious what CR it is.
5
Yeah,
CR
it is
5.
5. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you're not one-shotting it, right? And especially when it's throwing, tendrils from 50 feet away. Yeah, you got magic missile, you'll pare it down, but yeah, the ropers are so much fun. And I know there's also sort of some offshoots like Stir Roper, and there's a couple others I think they've come up with. But yeah, they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
They are really, but they're so much fun to play as a DM.
Disguise them as
Egan, were
stalactites.
you so in the Storm King's Thunder campaign? And for anyone that's playing this campaign, this is going to be a bit of a spoiler. But in the caverns for the no, not Cloud, the
Hill
okay,
Giant? No, Hill Giant was a village. Never mind.
yeah, I can't remember which giants it
Stone
was,
giants.
but I think it was the Stone Giants. There's a roper in there, and the way you get by it is you have to feed it precious gems. You feed it a
Yes.
precious gem, you can get
Yes.
by it in there, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yep. Yep. Otherwise, you're in for
You're in for
losing
you're
a
in
lot
for a
of
roper
resources.
in.
Yep, indeed. Now they're a lot of fun. So if you guys are looking for a good challenge, what is a CR5? What level characters would that be?
I mean, it's based
Well,
on
I mean,
4 I'd have to run the numbers.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's probably fairly challenging for level 3 characters. Probably
got
be
it.
quite challenging for level 3 characters. A party of 4.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. While Max is doing his thing, I'll look it up the calculator, see what it ends up being. But yeah, highly recommended ropers.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but their ropers were an AD&D introduction,
They're an
weren't they?
original. Yeah.
They've been around
Original.
since the beginning. Yeah.
Well, in fact, my memory, and I don't know if you're gonna have, but is of a early roper
Yeah.
against the party. It was, oh man,
Yeah.
barely made it. Barely made it.
Cool.
Sweet.
Max, what's your number
All
2
right.
for today?
Yeah, saving the best for last because I've got the Banshee.
Nice.
which is an amazing low level monster. Okay, CR4. So definitely when your party's in the 1 to 4 range, well, maybe not level one. It might be a bit much, but like, you can mix and match this with other monsters creatively however you want. I think it makes excellent um like big boss for a story arc or whatever. Um you can flavor them however you want. It doesn't have to be a female elf like the manual suggests, you know what I mean? Just any sort of undead humanoid, really. I mean, you could have a banshee dragon if you really wanted to, do something wild, you know what I mean? Because it is, in essence, the tormented spirit of a living
Right.
creature, right?
Yeah.
So
If you just
it's
go
not,
to the essence of what a
yeah,
banshee is, yeah.
exactly. So, um, they are badass. They're immune to just about all conditions. They're immune to cold, necrotic, and poison damage. They're resistant to basically all other damage except for force and psychic, it looks like. Um, and non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Uh, they've got innate detect life abilities. So they always know that someone is around within 5 miles. You're not sneaking up on them necessarily. They can move through walls, floors, other creatures, so you can't just pin them down. You know what I mean? They're all over the place. If you put them in like sort of like a mazy mansion or something like that, your party's gonna be like chasing all over for this thing, getting separated. And then the two awesomeness abilities, they have their horrifying visage, which is a fright check basically to frighten creatures. They can pass on it eventually and be immune to it. And then there's this whale. When they let out their whale once per day, they have to make a con saving throw. So most of the classes don't have con saves as an innate saving throw. I think 3 or 4 maybe out of the 12 or whatever it is. But uh, and if they fail that, they just go to 0 hit points.
And
That's it. Just
that
making
is
death
that
saves.
is I mean that is terrifying.
And if they pass, they still take 3d6 psychic damage, which on a good roll could, depending on where you're at in the fight, could still down some people anyways.
Yeah.
So no matter what, they're taking damage at the very least. You pair this with like skeletons or shadows or zombies or anything like that. Or maybe if they're a little higher level, like level 3 or 4 characters, maybe you have two banshees or something like that, and you're doing like back-to-back whales and like it is just awesome. Definitely like will, strike some fear into your players and you can be real nasty with this guy. So
Yeah,
that's my
we've had a banshee to deal with in adventures in Emathan when the party early on in the campaign when the party was collecting the pieces to make a new moonsicle.
the moonsicle.
The moonsicle.
But we flattered her,
Yes.
Yeah.
and the artificer made rolled a very high artificing check, let's
Yeah,
call it.
that's
So,
that is the other
yeah.
cool part too. There is like avenues in the monster design for like role playing your way through it too, if you wanted to, because there's a lot. I just think it's like just a super versatile monster that you can
Yeah, and in the
party.
I know this was pre your joining us, Max, but I that was one of the avenues that I kind of had my head wrapped around is they don't necessarily have to fight this thing. They can flatter her to the
Yeah.
point of getting what they need, and they managed to do that. So it was a lot of fun to play, actually.
We were so freaking nervous. I'll tell you this right
Oh
now.
yeah,
We were
that
like
whale man.
tiptoeing, backing out, bowing like we just saw the Queen of England. Like it was, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
good fun. All right, my second monster of the night is the owl bear because
Nice.
I just so owl bears show up again in Lost Mines of Phandelver,
Yeah, these are
and
cool.
it was just again the first time I came up I'm like this is just so D&D and owl bear, right? So
Yeah.
in doing a little bit of research for this I just found this little paragraph here that I want to read. So in the early 1970s, Gary Gygax was playing Chainmail, a war game that also served as a precursor of Dungeons and Dragons. In order to give his players as many different challenges as possible, Gygax was always on the lookout for new monsters. Although he was able to draw on pulp fiction and swords and sorcery stories for many of them, he also looked through dime stores for figurines that could be used in battle. On one of those occasions, he came across a bag of small plastic toys labeled prehistoric animals. This was made in Hong Kong, and the set included monsters from Japanese films such as Ultraman and Godzilla. Several of these were odd enough to catch his eye, and he used them to represent several new monsters, including the owlbear, the boulette,
Oh, Bouette, nice.
and the rust monster.
Oh, the
Oh
Rust
yeah.
Monster. Wow.
Yeah, like I thought that's pretty cool that the owlbear, because in doing in doing research for this, within the official lore, the origin of owlbears has never come to light. Like there's stories that wizards created them. There's stories that they came from the Feywild, but there's never been any official uh, decision made on where the owlbear came from. Right. So but I just thought that was pretty cool that some of those monsters, because there are those monsters like the rust monster, like the owl bear.
Yep.
You're like, where the hell did the concept for that come from, right?
Somebody was smoking something
Yeah,
when they thought of that
exactly.
thing.
Yeah. So, owlbear's monstrosity, or sorry, monstrous cross between a giant owl and a bear. Like, I mean, it's just the weirdest mashup. An owlbear's reputation for ferocity and aggression makes it one of the most feared predators of the wild. So it is 7d10 plus 21, an average 59 hit points. Pretty strong, 20 strength. I mean, they have multi attack.
Yeah.
Beak does 10 points of damage. Claw 14. They're a challenge rating 3. I just there's such a
Iconic.
unique to D&D
Yeah.
creature. I just love them, right? And we were talking before they showed up in the Honor Amongst Thieves, the D&D movie, which was fantastic. Although it got some people's knickers in a knot because a druid turned into it. Oh my god.
You can't
I just
change that way.
yeah, you
No.
know what? So what's a table rule?
Yeah.
Whoever the DM was for that movie, they decided that was their table rule for. But
Homebrew is
yeah,
much a part of D&D as anything else.
yeah, just I absolutely love just the fact that they have nests, and you can come up on their nests, all that sort of
Eggs
stuff.
and everything. Yeah.
We also had in this campaign we had ogres that were riding owl bears as their mounts. So
Damn.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, that was the one where Douglin was one of those things you see outside of a car
knock
shop,
down, get
the
up, knock down,
he
get
got
up,
I think
knock
he got
down,
knocked
get
down
up.
4
It was just
times.
the entire battle. He just kept
Yeah.
hitting the ground, and
Yep.
someone would bring him up again, and yeah, he was just taking the damage. Yeah,
Indeed.
crazy, crazy.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So I mean, other than our technical difficulty, we're right on time here, but let's let's kind of close this one off. So I don't know if I'm going to put you guys on the spot again. You may or may not remember this. Um, any one of you remember the first monster you fought in D&D, or can you think of the first monster that really made a big impression on you when you were first playing D&D?
Hmm.
I can. Yes.
Go for it,
This
Egan.
is going to be the latter, the impression.
Yep.
The Fomorian giant. I think I
Oh,
might have told you guys this off air, but basically, I had a friend who was a DM and he was sinister. Oh man, I was playing a rogue and he let my rogue discover some magical boots, and they were actually magical boots. They were boots of levitation. And so back in the day, you had to try stuff, right? There was no attunement. It was like, oh, put it on and see what happens. So I put it on and I went up And as I got up, I became eye level with a Fomorian giant. Flail, crit, boom. And basically, he just described me of ass over elbows, hitting the wall in the opposite and sliding down head first like this. And I just remember it because it was so I was laughing. It was so cool. It was so fun and so perfectly scripted, how he did it. And then I went and I looked like what's the latest version of Fomorians, and I wanted to mention this as an honorable mention. It's a giant that deals psychic damage and can deform you.
Oh,
Like one of their
nice.
powers is to temporarily deform you. So yeah, talk about terrifying. So yeah, that was my big moment of D&D
Oh, really
to the
remembering a
core.
monster?
Oh my God, I still remember it clear as day. I'm like, oh man, you son of a bitch. I think I lived. I might have lived, barely. It took a while to get me going again, but yeah.
Uh, Max, do you remember either?
Yeah, so this is a little different because I didn't really play much D&D, like pen and paper D&D when I was younger, but when I was getting just back into 5e, starting 5e a few years ago, and I joined this other group for my reintroduction, and so I came in on their campaign, kind of the start of a new campaign, and we were going through, it had to do with like Xanathar and there's like two kind of competing thief factions and stuff, and we're going through these like sewer based tunnels, and we spy from like the darkness into this room, this headquarters, and we see a mind flayer. And I remember they described the mind flayer, and like obviously I know about D&D, and we're like level 2. You know what I mean? And I was like, the fuck is the mind flayer doing here? I was like freaking out. Luckily, just ended up being like a plot device. You know what I mean? We didn't face the mind flayer, but I was freaking out. I'm like, oh, okay, well that's the end of our freaking campaign, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, it was
Yeah.
really fun. So,
Awesome.
but
Awesome.
yeah, I don't know what it is. I just there's something about those sort of like sci-fi flavored kind of monsters that I just really like a lot. Maybe I just have a big like fan of like the Lovecraftian like sci-fi horror stuff, but
Yeah.
the otherworldly stuff, because like it's fantasy and everything, but the stuff that just feels like it's not from your
Yeah.
world, from your
Yeah.
planet, even in a D&D fantasy context, just like is that much has that much level of edge to it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Creatures like, say, Ordite.
There you go. Yes.
By the way, speaking of Lost Mines of Fandelver, the Spectator. I mean, when I
Oh
first
yeah,
heard
Spectator's
there is a
great.
globe floating with eye stalks, I'm like, oh, we're dead. We're
Yeah.
Yeah.
freaking
Or
dead.
the Flame Skull, the first time you
Oh,
come
Yeah,
up
that
against
flame
that.
skull, that'll fuck up a party. That
Oh,
that
is
is
and
a
it
tough,
did
tough.
when
Yeah,
we
yeah.
played that campaign. It messed up. They had to
Just
retreat from and
fireball,
get
fireball.
a
yeah,
new
Just like
plan together.
yeah.
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So yeah, to finish this off there. So for me, one of the first campaigns I was in, um, I was a fighter, and I had metal armor. I can't remember exactly what it was at that point. It was probably like ring or something, but and we came up I came up on the party, we came up on a rust monster for the very first time. And we had no idea what this thing could do to our armor,
Giant
and it
cockroach. No big
just
deal.
and we were like I we didn't get it right away, like what was going on, and then it was like, oh my god, this thing is destroying our armor. Like, oh yeah,
Chewing on it.
it was good, it was
Your
good.
weapons too. It can like
Yep.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
pretty
Yep.
cool.
yep.
Oh yeah, we just got this rust monster just devastated our party. Like
Need new equipment.
we were done for.
That's
Yeah. I mean that was
awesome.
that was also back in the days when it was, when you anticipated you were going to die. Like, what, you guys finished that module? We got
Yeah,
killed at this point. Like that was always the conversations. Not
yeah. Nobody
yeah.
finished Tomb of Horrors. I don't
Nobody.
care what
No.
anybody says. Nobody freaking finished that module. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome, guys. That was definitely, we got to do this again. We'll
Yeah.
We'll try and make it a regular thing. Maybe wait for our
Ooh, I
new.
know phase two could be favorite legendary monsters.
Nice. Yeah,
The
let's do
higher
something like
level
that.
stuff.
That'll be great.
Yep.
We'll put a
Something
little
like that.
criteria around it.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll make that a wrap for episode 32 of Roll by Rolls Tavern Talk. We hope that you've enjoyed tonight's topic. Tavern Talks occur the Thursday after each of our Saturday night adventures in Emathan sessions. So our next session scheduled for December 21st. A little Christmas bonus for all of us. And
Yay.
Christmas episode.
yeah. For those of you watching on YouTube, please support us by making sure to like our videos and subscribe to the channel. You hit that little bell icon, you will be alerted when our next session occurs. So, to end the episode, as we always do, we will offer a cheers. Thanks for joining us in the tavern, and hopefully you can join us next time. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Peace out.